We've got to have another talk, this time about Rasmus Højlund and why everyone is getting it wrong about the Danish centre-forward. I'm Statman Dave. Today we're going to go into the problems of Manchester United's use of Rasmus Højlund this season and the solutions. We're also going to dive into some Atalanta footage to look at what he did so well in Italy. Make sure you subscribe if you're new and get in the comments below how many goals will Rasmus Højlund score for Manchester United in next season's Premier League. Anyway, let's get this party started. But before we dive into the problems of Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund, then talk about the solutions as well, we have to understand the player. From watching a lot of Rasmus Højlund and Atalanta from last season, I kind of understand the player quite well. For me, Rasmus Højlund is a pressing forward, a player that will lead your attack, closing down the opposition, using his sprint speed to close the opposition's defenders. Not only that, when they've won the ball, Rasmus Højlund loves playing in the channels, either from direct balls, from through balls, from receiving to feet. Højlund thrives in counter-attacking situations. But what are his major strengths? Let's focus on those before we dive into what United are doing with the centre-forward. On the last line, Rasmus Højlund is constantly on the move. He runs the channels well, often getting into positions to bring others into play or creating chances for teammates. What makes him so good in these situations is his blistering speed. Not only does he have the strength to roll challenges, but he's also got the speed to rival the quickest defenders in Europe. As well as his speed, one of Højlund's biggest strengths is his flair and dribbling ability. He's got a big arsenal of skills to be his man. From chops and step-overs to back heels and flicks, Højlund is a great ball manipulator. But Højlund can also identify a mismatch and use his physicality to burst past the defender with his speed. All combined, Højlund can be a difficult player for defenders to manage. In terms of finishing, Højlund excels from the left-hand side of the box, where he can finish using his stronger left foot. He's got every finish in his locker, from powerful shots across the goalkeeper or high into the near post, as well as depth chips to find the net. What's more is that Højlund is a deceptively good presser, who's always looking to steal the ball. He'll harry defenders and press goalkeepers, which led to a number of chances in his Atalanta days. So how have Manchester United been using him this season? Erik Ten Hag has fielded a 4-2-3-1 with Rasmus Højlund as that central striker. There are a few issues with the setup that's just simply not getting the most out of Manchester United's number 11. First up, from goal kicks, Rasmus Højlund is arguably used as a target man. So when Manchester United are building and the opposition are putting the squeeze on from the goalkeeper, and let's say the ball's at right centre-back, or even more frequently, Andre Onana has the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, what you'll tend to see from Manchester United is direct balls into the centre-forward. This isn't really his skill set. As we mentioned, one of his big strengths is hitting the channels. What Manchester United should be doing is stretching the opposition's backline in build-up. What that means is if Manchester United are building successfully with the numbers in the right play, Rasmus Højlund now becomes an issue because he's going to run the channels. That means the opposition centre-backs, not only are they getting drawn out of position, but they're entering a part of the pitch that they don't like to defend. United should utilise balls into the channels for Rasmus Højlund to really start to break the opposition down. That would be a better use than using Højlund as a direct target man. But that's not a real big part of a centre-forward, of course. As the modern game comes in, we see strikers being involved in build-up in a lot more. We see Brighton operating with kind of two number 10s and two high wingers. Again, Manchester United could do that. But more worryingly, in the final third, Rasmus Højlund is super isolated. Nominally playing as the centre forward, Man United operate with two wide wingers under Erik Ten Hag. What that means is there's a humongous amount of space between Rasmus Højlund and his more creative teammates, leading to a lot of frustrating situations. Manchester United don't attack well. They don't attack consistently, and they don't attack with rhythm and the same methodology. What we see with Manchester United in the final third is usually Bruno operating in one inside channel, Kobbie Mainoo in the other channel if a nominal defensive midfielder is there, and the two wingers holding the width. What United do is they'll work the ball through probably a long pass out wide to one of the wingers. The issue here is that instead of Rasmus Højlund joining in and getting involved, as we mentioned, one of his biggest skills is receiving to feet and shooting from that inside sort of left position in the penalty area, Rasmus Højlund often doesn't receive that pass from the wide player, or the ball isn't worked to him, which leaves him very isolated. But that also isolates the wide player. These two things are a real problem at Manchester United, that the only real way that United create chances is through individual play. We did a video about how Manchester United attack, and individualistic moments and players beating 5 men then creating something out of nothing is how they attack. There's also a greater reliance on individual quality to create chances, whilst Casemiro is far less influential. In fact, last season, Casemiro's turnovers led to as many goals as United scored from the penalty spot. So frequently what we see with Rasmus Højlund is one of the wingers dribbling, hitting the byline, creating, and then looking to get the ball to one player in the penalty area. United poorly load the box, which puts even more pressure on the centre forward. It means he's got to move in such a good way that he's opening up 1, 2, 3 defenders, but it also puts pressure on the wide man. He needs to beat his fullback and then put a good ball in the box. These two things cause a lack of chances from Manchester United. On top of that, when you look at Bruno Fernandes's statistics, he creates a lot of opportunities for wide players. It's just how he is as a player. He looks to hit the wide players versus hitting through balls for the centre forward, but more on that when we look at the stats in a little bit. All this combined leaves a very lonely Rasmus Højlund in the penalty area. For a player that's only taken 36 shots in the Premier League so far, it's just simply not good enough for Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund, and together, collectively, they need to solve some problems. So how can Man United improve and get the best out of Rasmus Højlund? Well, first and foremost, it's quite a simple one. Manchester United need to start using Rasmus Højlund like Atalanta and Gasperini used him in Serie A. That could be done in a number of different ways. But really simply, Manchester United need to look more direct for Rasmus Højlund. They need to get him to stretch the opposition with balls into the channels. That can come from any phase of play, but would be good in build-up. As we mentioned before, stretching the opposition and forcing them further back into their own half, creating more space for players like Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo to play. But more importantly for Manchester United, to paraphrase Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you don't buy a Ferrari to drive it like a Fiat. More direct play like we saw in Bergamo for Atalanta will result in more opportunities for Haaland to create for his teammates as well as scoring goals. But from a tactical perspective, United's front three needs to be far more narrow. At Atalanta, the combination play between the three forwards with Højlund involved was scintillating at times, and that's something that would suit Manchester United's current lineup. Marcus Rashford is definitely more an inside left than a wide left player, but also Alejandro Garnacho likes to bounce off people. He's got the ability to crash shots, cutting in from both the left-hand side and the right-hand side, but also cutting in and playing passes with Rasmus Højlund to link with Marcus Rashford could be a way. It's really simple, but you're getting your attackers closer together. This is more Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp in the early days, where both fullbacks would fly forward in the final third. Manchester United have got Diogo Dalot on the right side, but may need to look for more consistency or fitness from a left back. I mentioned last season signing someone like Alphonso Davies. That is the profile of player Manchester United need at left back. A dribbler, a guy that's going to carry forward and look to open up the opposition. What this tactically would mean for Manchester United, in the final third, the width will be held from the fullbacks. Both forwards would be inside in close proximity to Rasmus Højlund, and United would build with the two central midfielders and the DM. Something that would work in modern football. Again, United could drop their defensive midfielder to be a halfback and even build with a 3-2 shape. All things that you need in the modern game. And why I think this will work for Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund playing in a narrow front three is because it happened in Bergamo. But we're not just coming with one simple solution of narrowing the front three and getting our attackers closer together to play off each other and getting Højlund in the channels more and being more direct. But also Manchester United could build attacking setup in a slightly different way. What we could potentially see is Manchester United dropping the right back to create that back three and pushing an attacking midfielder higher up the pitch, forcing one of the wide players to operate more as a traditional winger and putting an attacking midfielder into the offensive line, and again building with a 3-2 structure, with an overlapping fullback on the left-hand side. What this would allow would be more wing play from one of the sides, and it not being both. Again, having close proximity with two of your best goal scorers. You know, having an inside left player and Rasmus Højlund as the number 9 really works. But more importantly for Manchester United, they need to start to develop attacking patterns of play. If the winger's going to go on the outside, like we've seen Alejandro Garnacho do time and time again on the left wing and the right wing to create opportunities, United need to attack the middle, the far post and the near post. This is basic stuff. This is Ferguson 101. Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo, or Ryan Giggs, Tevez, Ronaldo, or even, you know, whichever combination we want to put in there. We need one player attacking the near post, one attacking late, and one attacking the far post. That is just the basic requirement. Of course, more players can attack the box at different times, but from a basic sense, covering the near post, far post, and the centre of the goal is how you create opportunities. And that not only will make United more effective with their wing play, having set positions that can be fluid within certain moments. But what I'd like to see, we'll break this down a little bit further, is Højlund attacking that near post more, because he's got the pace to beat the defender in that area. Not only that, what I want to see far more of as well is the wide players, or, you know, the central players playing more through balls to Rasmus Højlund. It sounds super simple, but having a winger cutting inside and then allowing Rasmus Højlund to make a move into the channel with a bent run is something that United is renowned for. This is a classic Manchester United move. When you speak to any former striker that's played for Man United, that curve run and through ball into the channel is something that works. Not only would that work on the right-hand side, of course, Højlund needs to improve himself in that area, but it would also work on the other side of the pitch. Not only could that come from the left back, you know, similar situation with Højlund making a bent run into the channel, again, an area of the pitch that we spoke about before. This left side of the box, he is really good in. So having that ability for the nominal wing back in the final third, playing that through ball, or alternatively the fullback finding the inside left player, which again Marcus Rashford would be perfect for, finding that through ball creates more opportunities. Again, this is something we saw at Atalanta time and time again, and it's a method to create opportunities that United are just not using at the moment. And two little final points. Number one, when any player gets to the byline, putting low crosses into the penalty area. At the moment, Rasmus Højlund isn't the best with his head, so low crosses and cutbacks has got to be an area that United use over and over again. And finally, in counter-attacking situations, playing the early pass. Because at times with Manchester United, when one of the wingers has got in behind the opposition's defence, the ball isn't played quick enough. At times in open play, there's a simple pass across the box for the centre forward to race forward and then find one of the bottom corners, but we don't see that early pass enough. So just to summarise, to improve Manchester United, there needs to be set routine for players inside the penalty area. They need to play with either a narrow front three or one of the wide players inside and the attacking midfielder facilitating the other role. There needs to be more through balls, either from an inside left player, inside right player, or from the wide players cutting inside and then playing that. And finally, United just need to be a little bit more quicker in the transition to play those early passes, but also a lot more direct balls. United seem to talk about being a good transitional team, yet they're not using one of their best assets in the channels. Very confusing. Right, it's time to look at the stats. A big part of our analysis here. And when comparing Rasmus Højlund at Atalanta versus Manchester United this season, statistically United aren't using Rasmus Højlund in an effective way. There is a big reduction on a number of key statistics. One of the biggest ones that jumps out is Rasmus Højlund ranks in the bottom 5% of passes received for strikers in Europe's top 5 leagues. United are simply not getting the ball to Rasmus Højlund like Atalanta were. In fact, at Atalanta, Rasmus Højlund was receiving around 11 progressive passes per 90, which put him in the top 1% of players in Europe's top 5 leagues. That is a stark contrast from the Manchester United numbers. But looking at other statistics, there is a massive reduction in the amount of dribbles that Rasmus Højlund is attempting and the amounts of shots that he's taking. But if we look at other statistics, creating chances, shot creating action, or shot accuracy, they're very similar numbers. So he's doing quite well considering the low amount of ball that Manchester United are giving him to breaking through. And I think one of the big things that is argued is, he's not making the runs. He's not getting into the right positions. we've got a stat to pretty much destroy that argument as well. So we're going to bring in a new statistic via Skill Corner and the guys at Scouted Football. Runs threat per 100 runs. This metric basically quantifies the off-the-ball movement, and it shows the best players in the Premier League. For this metric, only Ollie Watkins, Erling Haaland performed better in the Premier League this season than Rasmus Højlund, showing how the Dane's movement isn't being utilised by his teammates. This isn't a sponsored piece, but I absolutely love what Skill Corner and Scouted Football are doing, so I'll drop a little link in the description below if you're interested. I find it very, very interesting. New metrics, new statistics, and a whole lot of fun. What I find super interesting about that statistic is it compares Højlund with Ollie Watkins and Erling Haaland. Three forwards I think are quite similar. In terms of this season in the Premier League, Højlund ranks best for goals per shot, shot accuracy, non-penalty XG per shot. But he doesn't get the ball anywhere near as much. In fact, he ranks in the bottom 7% of forwards in the Premier League this season for passes received per 90. And if we dive into the expected goal statistics, Manchester City have created nearly 20 more XG for Haaland than Man United have for Højlund. He's basically starving. And obviously we can't leave it on just the statistic. I went back and watched all of Rasmus Højlund's shots from this season in the Premier League. It didn't actually take me that long because there was only 36 of them, but the results were really worrying. Alejandro Garnacho was the top chance creator from Rasmus Højlund with 5 chances created, Marcus Rashford with 4 and Bruno Fernandes with 4 as well. What's worrying about that statistic is in fact Rasmus Højlund created more opportunities from him winning the ball back himself than he did from any other United player apart from Garnacho. That's something that United and Erik Ten Hag really need to fix. The players are there to create the opportunities, but the methodology just doesn't seem to come through, and that is really hampering and harming Rasmus Højlund. So now how can Rasmus Højlund improve himself? Rasmus Højlund is a young centre forward. There's a lot that he could still learn with his game. Number one is heading. For around 18 shots and an XG of 2.31, Rasmus Højlund is yet to score with his head in Europe's top 5 leagues. But Haaland was quite poor with his head at Borussia Dortmund, and in fact he scored 11 goals since joining Manchester City with his head, and it's an area that he's really improved. Højlund has the physicality and the movement, the jinking. You know, take a look at this opportunity here where he opens himself up with a little move back, little move forward, and then gets into the space, but the direction needs to be worked on. And I think in terms of the tactical side of things for Manchester United, hitting the back post to be an aerial threat on the fullback in the Premier League is an area that he doesn't utilise yet that I'd like to see. Not only does that give Manchester United a number of options to hit Højlund, either we mentioned near post, middle of the goal, hang it up to the back stick, but it will allow him to score different types of goals. I think one of the big things as well, it's working on his finishing technique in the penalty area. If we go back to Manchester United's greatest player in recent history, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. And you take different areas of the box, you know, talking left side, right side, in the centre of the box. What Ronaldo had and what he worked on with René Meulenstein is different types of finishes in these areas to put the ball in the back of the net. As I mentioned before, I quite like what he does from the left-hand side. I think his finishing from this zone is very good. You know, it's a lot of power. It's naturally on that left foot. But I think at times he definitely could improve himself on the right-hand side of the box. The centre of the goal will come with experience and finishing. But at times for Manchester United, when he's in this area, his shots are just directly going at the goalkeeper and it's easily saved. But I know for a fact that Højlund has the skills and technical ability and finishing on that right foot to perform brilliant things in this area. But I think a little bit more work with his right foot and maybe even checking back. You know, we see over and over again left-footed players checking back onto their stronger left foot and finishing into the far corner, either high and low, is another part of Højlund's game that needs to work on. But there's one finish against Spezia that I really want to show you guys because it shows the potential of Rasmus Højlund in the penalty area. We pick up the play with Atalanta moving the ball out to the right flank to Zap da Costa. Rasmus Højlund again is in that channel position. He's in between defenders, and that's what Manchester United should be doing. He shouldn't be backing in and looking as that feet option. He should be in the channels because he's very, very dangerous. If we think about finishing in the right side of the box, I don't have a problem with Rasmus Højlund's finishing when he's received the ball to feet. He's a player that likes touches the ball, and when he gets it under, can dribble, finishes usually quite well. I think the goals against West Ham United United and Newcastle United in the Premier League, where Højlund's received on the D and then created something out of nothing, and that's exactly what he does here. Stopping the ball with his right foot, dragging it with his left foot, and then finishing across the keeper in a superb way to grab a goal for Atalanta. This is the type of finish that Rasmus Højlund has got from these positions, but there is work to be done on that right foot. When we're talking about those early balls, Manchester United don't use this pass enough, that early pass to break the defence. But Rasmus Højlund really needs to work on those types of finishes, those one-touch finishes in the penalty area to improve his overall goal-scoring position. On that right foot, again, his weaker foot, we need to see more options for the corners, either low or high, and that'll make him become a far more effective goal scorer from that right side of the box. An area of improvement, but think about that finish we saw against Spezia. That, for me, is world class. In conclusion, to get more out of Rasmus Højlund, Manchester United need to use him as a pressing forward, more balls into the channel so he can use his pace. More time spent in the channels will give him more opportunities to create for teammates or to get shots off. Get more players in and around him. Achieve this with a narrow front three, allowing Højlund to drift wide and rotate positions with another forward becoming the nominal striker. Getting more assists from Højlund by letting him mismatch the opposition with his speed and strength against the fullback. Alternatively, achieving this with one winger and an attacking midfielder, with the other winger holding the width. This could be achieved by playing Dalot high and Luke Shaw low, or signing Jeremy Frimpong and playing Diogo Dalot as a deep left back. Or alternatively, playing Dalot as a deep right back and signing Zalewski or Samuel Lino, or even giving minutes to young sensation Harry Amass. What's really important to remember is Rasmus Højlund needs time. He turned just 21 years old in February. In terms of players under 21 in the Premier League this season, he scored more goals than any other player. On top of that, he scored 22% of the shots in the Premier League this season. That is a better chance conversion than Kai Havertz, Ollie Watkins, Mohamed Salah, Phil Foden. All players that we are talking about really well this season. Rasmus Højlund has made a good start to life in Manchester, despite the poor team performance and injuries hampering this season. But if United can play to his strengths and give him far more service, Manchester United have got a lethal attacking weapon. But anyway, guys, what do you think? Has Rasmus Højlund been treated harshly by the media? Hopefully after this video, you can tell them that they're talking a load of rubbish. I truly believe in Rasmus Højlund and I think he's going to score a lot of goals for Manchester United. Get into the comments below. Who would you sign as the backup striker for Rasmus Højlund over the summer? Or would you go with someone like Ethan Wheatley? For me, that is the simple solution. I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.